explores the strategic pathways for Kerala's long-term development through focused infrastructure investments, sectoral prioritization, and sustainability integration. It emphasizes the role of human capital, diaspora engagement, public private partnerships, and inclusive regional development in shaping a resilient Kerala. To deliberate on this session, we have an esteemed panel of speakers here with us. It's my privilege to introduce and extend a hearty welcome to our distinguished speakers. The session will be chaired by Professor K. N. Harilal, Chairman of the 7th State Finance Commission, Government of Kerala. We are honored to have our session speakers. First, Professor D. Narayana, former Director of GIFT, Sri Kumar K. Nair, CEO, Vizhinjam International Seaport Limited, Sri Krishna Kumar, General Manager of Operations, Smart City Thiruvananthapuram Limited, and we have two speakers who are attending the session online, Sri Anup Ambika, CEO, Kela Startup Mission, and Sri Elias John, a journalist and a port expert. We also have Dr. Danya Shankar, Assistant Professor St. Mary's College, Thrissur, and Dr. Anup S. Kumar, Assistant Professor at GIFT, as the discussion initiators for the session. I extend a very warm welcome to all the distinguished speakers of the session and request them to come out to the stage. I Sri Anup Ambika, CEO of Kela Startup Mission, is also joining us offline here. I also welcome all other honored professors, subject experts, scholars, students, and other participants to attend the session. I now invite the chair, Professor K. N. Harilal, to formally begin the session. Thank you.
Distinguished panelists and friends. Um, my dear friend, Professor K.J. Joseph, is very kind to me. He will not normally burden me with heavy work. So he has given me the chairperson's work, which is very, very simple and easy. Usually the problem is related to time management, but we have experienced campaigners here. So I don't need to really worry about time management also. They'll take care of managing time. I think organizers are saying that we can take around 10 minutes each for presentations. There are some online presentations also. Now, speaking about investment for future development, I was thinking about a thesis in CDS, which I had the privilege of supervising, an MPhil dissertation. In fact, no, the Chinese Road and Belt initiative was becoming popular and it was becoming a major point of discussion. So I was very keen to find out more about this particular development in China. And we encouraged one of our students to take up a study for the MPhil thesis on the Belt and Road initiative. And in fact, the study found out certain very important things. It's a very ambitious program. We all know that. And in fact, China was trying to overcome certain trade-related difficulties through this process of this Road and Belt initiative. See, generally, it is very difficult for China to enter into a free trade agreement. In fact, no, they were approaching India for FTA, but we were very reluctant because we thought, no, they are too competitive and they may dump their products in the Indian market. Similarly, European countries were also very reluctant to enter into FTA with China. So China had a tariff disadvantage in most of the markets because European Union is a large customs union which gives preferential entry to all the European producers. And they are having FTAs with other countries. And other groupings, regional groupings are getting into FTA. China was not welcome. So to overcome this difficulty, in fact, no, China, this was one of the main reasons. Of course, there are geopolitical strategic reasons also. But from the point of view of the economic management, this was very important. That is, China, by making this infrastructural improvement, they thought, no, they can reach all parts of the world. They can reach Middle East, Europe, East Asia, Russia, other parts of the world through the Belt and Road Initiative, which included roads, railways, ports, etc. Now, the point to be noted is this. This initiative was expected to reduce transportation costs and it was expected to save time. So Chinese products can reach Europe, every important market of Europe, within very short time and at a lower cost. Same is true of Pakistan, Middle East, Africa. Now, when you are saving time, which is money, and when you are saving on cost of production, in fact, no, that is better than tariff, reduction in tariff. Chinese product may be facing 10% tariff in European market, but in terms of transaction cost, transportation cost, etc., because of the road and belt initiative, they're saving more than 15%. So they could jump all the tariff walls and reach markets through the Belt and Road Initiative. So they were planning and they were making huge investment in this most ambitious infrastructure programs. And they were developing, as we know, mother ports in many parts in China and in other parts of the world. And these processes had really helped China become competitive. China was planning, Chinese state was involved in developing all these things so that their industry is competitive, their farms are competitive. Now, I told the story of Belt and Road Initiative of China to compare and try to understand our initiatives in Kerala. The port in Vizhinjam. Vizhinjam port is almost the first mother port in India. And our planners in India didn't really bother to develop ports of the same capacity in India in spite of so many years since independence when China was doing all these programs. Same is true of train and road connectivity. In fact, recently we are investing in train and road connectivity, improving ports. Some progress is being made, but we were terribly lagging behind China if in Indian economy is concerned. Now, in Kerala, we are investing so much in roads. We are improving our ports, railway connectivity, etc. It will mean that our industry will become more competitive. Of course, as we were discussing yesterday, there are environmental problems. certain kind of negative externalities will be there, but you will have to address those issues. Certainly, as Sridhar was saying, uh, you know, we should have been having a more transparent way of doing things, like about the Vizhinjam port or the Silver Line and all. Maybe we could have employed a more transparent method so that no everybody knew what was really happening, what kind of technology was being made. But one thing is for sure, when the world is changing like this, uh, Kerala cannot really lag behind. We cannot be a laggard. We will have to plan out. We will have to help our producers. We will have to reduce transaction cost. That's a very important way to compete in the world market. Yesterday, there was some discussion about the tariffs coming up in Western countries. Now, tariffs are going to create disadvantage for us. Say, when Indonesia, Ecuador, or Bangladesh, if they are allowed to enter the USA market at a lower tariff, and if our tariffs are higher, then our exporters will be at a disadvantage. But then we can try to be more competitive. Uh, Millennium and all this investment in infrastructure will certainly help us uh, becoming more competitive in an adverse international environment. For example, our cashew, our textiles, garments, they used to go to Singapore or uh, Dubai or Colombo to get transshipped to uh, USA. But now, because of Vizhinjam and because of road connectivity, our exporters can reach Europe and Western market more easily and at lower cost. Of course, the tariff bargaining, etc., will have to continue, but at the same time, we will have to make our own preparations. That way, we are on the right path. Of course, we will have to take care of environmental impact, etc. With these few words, I've taken a little more time. Let me now invite Professor Narayana to make the first presentation.
A very good morning to all of you. Let me first of all thank Professor Joseph for inviting me to this seminar. First, let me start with a personal reminiscence. See, when I today look at the, audience, see this auditorium, I feel very, it's a sense of fulfillment that comes to my mind, because almost 10 years ago, when I was the director of Gulati Institute, I took the initiative to furnish this auditorium. At that point, will we have a crowd of 300? Was often came to my mind. That's why when today morning, when I stand before you, it's a great sense of fulfillment. So let me start with that. And yesterday, you all heard our Honorable Finance Minister talk about expenditure, debt, and how he controlled debt and things of that sort. Great effort. But there is one thing, of course, he didn't mention. I just want to put that as a context. Before, my talk is going to be about local governments, how they have a role in investment for future, and how they are failing. That's what I'm going to talk about. But I want to set a context for that. If you look at the post-COVID, last 5 years, and if you look at the total expenditure of the government, you see 21-22, the total expenditure was 1,63,000 crores. Revenue expenditure, 1,46,000. Capital expenditure, note that, capital expenditure, 17,000 crores. And the total expenditure rose from 1,63,000 to 1,79,000 in 24-25. That's not a very large increase, because after that 1,63,000 in 21-22, the next 2 years, in nominal terms, it was lower. Nominal terms, it was lower, total expenditure. Same with the revenue expenditure. Same with capital expenditure. In fact, capital expenditure of the state and the public, capital expenditure, 17,000 in 21-22, it actually came down the next 3 years. 17,000 in the next year, 17,000 in the third year. In fact, 16,500 crores in 24-25. So if in nominal terms, it has not gone up, in real terms, it has actually come down. That's a very serious matter. So now you know how the finance minister was controlling, the debt and borrowing and things of that sort. So, and this session is on investment for future. So if capital expenditure doesn't go up, there is a lot of things behind that. I'm not going to go into the details, but I want to set the context for my discussion of local governments. So the important point is capital expenditure of the state government actually hasn't, during the post-COVID period of these 4-5 years, in real terms, it has not increased. Of course, the budget, which was presented, in March, has estimated that this year, 25-26, the state will, spend about 19,000 crores. But then, as we all know, the revised expenditure and the accounts actually is often much lower than that for whatever reasons. If a state is able to realize that, then of course there will be an increase. Okay, so that is the context. Now, post-COVID, in fact, nations are rebuilding, and local governments have to play a very important role in any reconstruction or building for the future. The Kerala context is especially difficult. It faces environmental challenges. You heard eloquently about that yesterday. Public health challenges, very serious public health challenges. Changing population structure. Along with that, rising incomes and aspirations. And on top of that, local governments have an important responsibility in creating an environment for startups. So local governments have to carry out a number of many important functions in the face of these challenges. But I'm not going to cover all these. I want to focus on just 2 of them. One, they are responsible for carrying out some crucial civic functions, such as care of the elderly, public health issues, such as road accidents, stray dog control, and create a healthy living environment. You are not going to attract investment if you don't have these. 2, they must mobilize own resources for carrying out many of these functions. If incomes are growing and if they don't mobilize resources, that is a great loss. Now, Kerala, of course, is often talked about, when you talk about decentralization, we often claim that we are the best, we are on top and all that sort of a thing. But how have they been doing in terms of these two? Let me begin with resource mobilization. In fact, going by my habit, I often present PPTs, but this time I decided I'm not going to do that because I don't want to drown you with numbers. But look at resource mobilization by the local governments. Let me begin with just one simple table found in the report of the 6th State Finance Commission. Now, Professor Harilal is the chairman of the 7th State Finance Commission, so this would be useful for him. It is table 6.15. It's a very interesting table. Of course, there are data problems, but that table has two columns. Budget allocation under general purpose grants, that's one column. The other is own resource mobilization by the local governments. It covers the period of 2004-5 to 2019-20. And 2004-5 budget provision under this head was rupees 2,205 crores. What was own resource mobilization? It was 2.5 times that amount, 522 crores. By 2009-10, that is 5 years after that, the budget allocation has gone up to 400 crores. Resource mobilization was 788. Look at the ratio. Started with 2.5, it has fallen below 2 by then. And then in the next 10 years, own resource mobilization slackened further. Of course, in nominal terms, it is about 2,000 crores, whereas budget allocation was 1,600 crores. So the ratio is almost 1:1. So more and more budget allocation, but resource mobilization by the local government was not rising at that pace. That is the reality. This was table 6.15. Now, with such large devolution, one would expect the local governments to carry out the many functions I mentioned earlier. But what has been the performance? In street lighting, rural roads, the performance is satisfactory. But in waste management, Kerala is at the bottom compared to other states. Mosquito control, we are at the bottom. Stray dog control, we are at the bottom. There are surveys, nationally carried out surveys, where you compare the states, we have nothing great to, talk about. So, in fact, you heard some of it. What has happened is many state missions now have to do these functions, which are actually mandatory functions of the local governments. So on one side, you devolve a lot of resources, but you don't get the sort of functions carried out by the local governments. Then the state takes it up, it does the same sort of a function. It's not a very healthy sort of a situation. Actually, this, some of these I have written elsewhere, how the local governments have performed in some of these. Of course, the initial 10 years, creditable performance. In fact, when the national government was talking about open defecation free and all that campaign and all, but Kerala had already achieved that largely because of the local governments and rural roads also. But after that initial sort of a performance, what you see, other sort of functions, you don't see that sort of a thing, but a lot more money was flowing in. Okay. Now, oh, that's difficult. I thought you should have applied that to the chair. I know. Let me speed it up. Yeah, so I've already introduced the subject of resource mobilization. If you look at, so I'm not going to follow the script. Now, what did the Sixth Finance Commission do? It carried out an assessment of the fiscal position of the state, and it said COVID and all that. And then it said, oh, because of the fiscal stress, devolution will also get affected. That is what it said, but it then made a statement. But effort should be made to protect the allocations even in the face of a crisis and optimize their use through intelligent planning. That is what their recommendation says. And what did they do? Despite the fiscal stress, they assume that from 21-22 onwards, oh, the fiscal situation, it will be back to normal sort of a thing. And then they say the devolution under the development fund, which was raised by 1% point to 26% of the plan in 21-22. Not only raised to 26%, in 4 years, it recommended that it should go to 30% of the plan fund. When you know that there is fiscal stress, 15th Finance Commission allocation has come down, all this was in front of them, but this is what they recommended. Not only that, they said often the plan size comes down, but the local government should not suffer. So what you have presented in the budget initially, that should be protected, even when the plan size comes. So the fiscal stress should not get translated to the local government. You see, the logic is, I often fail to understand this, but anyway, that is what. And maintenance fund, they raised from 5.5% to 6.5%. Then, of course, there are a lot of other things. And this is all when the state is facing a fiscal stress. So how has the devolution progressed during 21-22 to 25-26? Revenue expenditure, as I already gave the broad context. You see, compared to the state's revenue expenditure and capital expenditure, devolution increased from rupees 11,185 crores to 13,201 during these 5 years. That is 18% increase, whereas total expenditure was almost stagnant. And general purpose and traditional functions, that devolution, of course, rose by 7%. Maintenance of assets increased by 48%. Expansion and development by 12%. So even during these 5 years, even when the state was facing a fiscal stress, devolution to the local governments. In fact, the numbers are mind-boggling. Maintenance 48% increase. And how did the local governments respond to this bounty? Of course, I talked about the performance, the function carrying it, but resource mobilization. Previous period, I have already mentioned. What has happened during the last few years? Again, we don't have good data, so I'm not going to go into that. But then I did a study for the 7th State Finance Commission. If you look at the regional pattern of resource mobilization, what you find is that Central Travancore districts of Pathanamthitta, Kottayam, Idukki, and Ernakulam reported more than 75% of the Gram Panchayats were mobilizing more than rupees 250 per capita. Whereas the rest of the districts, that percentage, that is Gram Panchayat collecting rupees 250 per capita, was less than 30%. So even if you look, how does this happen? Or let me put it like, if you look at the, income or economic situation, Is it that Central Travancore districts are so rich and the rest of the things are so poor that there is such a large difference? That doesn't look like. There may be some difference, but such large difference is very unlikely. But what is the catch there? Because unlike some other states, the local governments here have the freedom to fix the property tax rate. And there is a state government gives a band, just leaves it to the, yes, I'm going to finish. And what you find is the Central Travancore district, panchayats have higher sort of a property tax rate. All the other districts, panchayats often, you very rarely that you will find they are at the floor rate, the bottom of the sort of a thing. So state devolves so much money, whereas especially even when you are under a severe fiscal stress, but you don't mobilize resources. And even at a time when there is severe fiscal stress, they are happy to spend the money devolved to them. Can we, this session is on investment for the future. Can we think of investment for the future if more resources are not mobilized? If the situation doesn't undergo a change, what will happen to the future? Thank you very much. I'll stop with that.
Sri Kumaran Nair.
How do I move it? How long do I have? Okay, and I'll keep it short. Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Chairman, and my fellow speakers, and a warm good morning to all the young faces that I see in the audience. Harilal sir and Professor Narayana sir, they both set the context for what I am going to take forward, taking you through an economic asset that the small state of Kerala has dared to create. Probably I would say that the Vizhinjam International Seaport is possibly the greatest initiative that any state government would have dared to initiate, where even Government of India has not taken such a step in the last 80 plus years post-independence. So how is it going to make our lives different? Because I see a lot of youngsters here today. If I were to ask you personally, what are your plans for the future? Most of you would be sharing your thoughts about migrating to different corners of the world. And the possible reason would be the fiscal stress that Professor Sir explained is basically we do not have any economic activity down here in our state creating quality employment. So how is this economic infrastructure, which has been created by the state of Kerala, it could possibly transform the state economically, create employment for the the smart youngsters like you all sitting here, and how it could remove the fiscal stress that was being explained to you. So I'll just take only just about 10 minutes. See, this is a project, as I said, even Government of India has not even thought in terms of, and Harilal sir mentioned in the beginning about the Belt and Road Initiative of China, where essentially that initiative is to reach the products that you make in your country to all corners of the world at the least possible cost. And the reason why India, see, China has 40% of the global market. Against that, we in India, we have just a piddly little 2%. Now, why we are unable to compete with China and have a larger market share? Basically, sir has already explained our logistics cost or our cost of transporting our produce to different corners of the world is substantially higher. Or, it's almost double that of all other developed economies. So that is where this project gains a lot of importance. It's a very significant addition, not just for the state of Kerala, not just for South India, not just for India. Rather, it is today helping all the Indian Ocean rim countries around, the African countries, the South Asian countries, the Southeast Asian countries. All the countries around are getting benefited from this port, which just became operational about 7 months ago. So how is it making a difference? See, in India, we know there are almost about 200 ports on the western coastline as well as the eastern coastline. So what makes this port very unique and special? And when I say that it is a game changer for all the Indian Ocean rim countries, how is it happening? See, in a simple layman's language, I would say that, you all know about the uniqueness of the Vande Bharat trains which have been introduced a couple of years ago. You reach your destination much faster than the conventional passenger trains we are all used to. Now, here, what is happening is the Vande Bharats of the global maritime side it reach only Vizhinjam among about 200 plus ports in the country. So, which means the long distance, sir mentioned about the mother vessels, see, typically the traffic moves, the movement of cargo, movement of goods across the world from one country to another. It doesn't move directly. I, as an entrepreneur 30 years ago, learned in a very difficult way when I was trying to export something from Trivandrum, what I was producing in Trivandrum, I was trying to export it to Dubai. I realized that I just can't put it in a ship in Kochi and send it directly to Dubai. It goes around, it went in the opposite direction actually, from here to Thoothukudi. From Thoothukudi, a small vessel took it across to Colombo. It was lying there for almost, close to a month. And after that, what sir mentioned, a large mother vessel came to Dubai, Colombo and took my product to Dubai. So 30 years ago, I realized that, we just can't compete in the global market with our products the way China does, because they have a lot more efficient direct transportation, the so-called mother vessels, which originate in the Chinese ports and travel across the world. Now, why India is not being able to do this so far is basically because, as you can see in this slide, all the Indian ports are far away from the busiest sea routes in the world. So these so-called large mother vessels do not move out of their regular route and come to an Indian port. And also, there is a huge challenge of inadequate draft, because as you would have seen, many of the major ports in India came up almost 200, 300 years ago during the British era. So they are either in a very protected bay or in a river, like in Kolkata, it is up the Hooghly River. In Kochi, you all know it is in the Vembanad Lake. So in these protected zones, the ships can comfortably berth, but the challenge is they don't have the necessary depth or draft to attract the large so-called mother vessels which come there. Now, the advantage of Vizhinjam is the fact that we are closest to the busiest sea route in the world, where about almost 35% of ships travel just about 10 nautical miles or 18 kilometers away. And also, it's nature's gift to the state of Kerala that south of Trivandrum, there is an automatic deep depth available right at the coast. So we don't have to do any continuous maintenance dredging to create that necessary draft for the large vessels to come and berth here. Because of these two USPs, one is the proximity to the busy sea route and the other is this natural draft available, the Vande Bharats of the shipping routes, they can easily come in and berth here. So this fledgling port, which is just about 7 to 8 months old, has seen all the largest shipping vessels sailing across the high seas coming here already, berthing here, and doing what we call as transshipment. Some vessels come and drop cargoes, the containers there. It remain there for a week. Some other vessel comes and picks it up and goes to other destinations. So this transshipment process per se really doesn't benefit us much because we just watch and get goosebumps seeing the so-called large vessels coming to our port. But really, it has got no contribution to transform our economy, to create large-scale employment for us, or to improve the stress of our exchequer. So this is a facility which has already come up. Uh, what we call as a phase one of the port. Now, this is what we are going to have 3 years from now. Now, just to give you an idea of the scale, though I say this is the most modern port infrastructure in the world at par with Shanghai, even Singapore or say Colombo or Dubai or Jebel Ali, they're all one step behind us in terms of the equipment deployed and in terms of the technology adopted. But the reality is, I think this is a touch screen. This, yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So in terms of scale or size, we are just 2% the size of Shanghai. We are just 3% the size of Singapore. And 5 years from now, we will probably reach about 8 to 10% the size of Shanghai, the large mega ports of Shanghai and Singapore. But still, it is a tremendous achievement initiated by the small state government of Kerala in a public-private partnership mode, where the private partner who is operating the port, it's a lifelong relationship of almost 60 years, will be the Adani Ports and SEZ Limited through their SPV, Adani Vizhinjam Port Private Limited. Now, how does, so these are some of the unique features of the port, and you all would have probably by now seen the photographs and all the facilities that are available within the port. Now, what way could it contribute in changing our economy? The fact is, the world's most modern port has become a reality just 20 kilometers south of where we are sitting. But there is nothing in the fishing village of Vizhinjam to complement the operations of the port, to support the operations of the port, and to transform our economy. So that is where now we have to proactively step in and see how best we could possibly exploit this to our benefit and create an ecosystem, because this is a virgin territory. There's practically nothing. We just continue to see this transshipment that is happening, boxes being dropped there and boxes being picked up, which really do not do anything for our economy. So that is where, we need the doors to open. And we have what is called the gateway cargo movement, or say EXIM cargo movement, where we create an industrial ecosystem, at least in South Kerala, which will leverage on the port and transform our economy. So that is where it becomes a win-win situation for the state as well as for this significant public infrastructure. And some of these things have already been initiated at the government level by various developmental agencies of the government, like what we call as the Outer Area Growth Corridor. And, many people would not have heard about the Outer Area Growth Corridor, but you all might be familiar with the three letters that we see in the newspapers very often: Outer Ring Road. Basically, it is that Outer Ring Road is a 80-kilometer road starting from Vizhinjam going up to the northern boundaries of Trivandrum district, which is expected to act as a catalyst to create an industrial and logistics ecosystem along that 80-kilometer stretch of a relatively less uninhabited part of Trivandrum district. So with these, see, sky is the limit. As I said, we are in virgin territory. There is practically nothing in Trivandrum to support this port infrastructure, to complement this port infrastructure. So sky is a limit in terms of, I will put them in three different baskets. The maritime facilities which could come up adjacent to the port. We have a minor port of Kerala Maritime Board just abutting this state-of-the-art facility. There we can create many complementing facilities which will create large-scale employment for the local youth as well. And also there is a lot of logistics facilities which have to come on the land side. Some of them are listed here. It is not an exhaustive, comprehensive list, but I've just put down certain things which could come up here, which will complement the port activities, which will create, and that is when we have large scale. See, we have done some exercise. Direct employment could be in the region of about 2 lakh, leveraging on the port in Thiruvananthapuram district, in the eastern periphery. We always have a narrative that is typically built up. കേരളം ജനസാന്ദ്രത ഏറിയ നാടാണ്. ഇവിടെ നമുക്ക് ഭൂമി ലഭ്യമല്ല. നമുക്കിവിടെ വലിയ വലിയ എക്കണോമിക് ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസ് അസാധ്യമാണ്. I just would like to share a couple of numbers. Thiruvananthapuram City Corporation has got a land area of 209 square kilometers. The city-state of Singapore has got a land area of 730 square kilometers, which is just 3.5 times our area. The city-state of Singapore has got an economy the size of $500 billion per year. Now, India's richest state, Maharashtra, has got an economy size is $0.4 trillion a year. Now, അപ്പൊ തിരുവനന്തപുരം നഗരത്തിന്റെ 3.5 മടങ്ങ് മാത്രം വ്യാപ്തിയുള്ള സിറ്റി സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ആയ സിംഗപ്പൂർ ഇത് നേടിയത് രണ്ട് കാരണങ്ങളാണ്. ഒരു തുറമുഖവും ഒരു വിമാനത്താവളവും. അപ്പം ആ കാര്യം അവിടെ ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കുമെങ്കിൽ പാരിസ്ഥിതിക ചട്ടങ്ങളും പാരിസ്ഥിതിക നിബന്ധനകളും സാമൂഹ്യ ആഘാതവും എല്ലാം പരിഗണിച്ച് വ്യക്തമായിട്ട് അതിനുള്ള പരിഹാരങ്ങളും കണ്ടെത്തിക്കൊണ്ട് നടത്താൻ കഴിയുമെങ്കിൽ the same thing we can replicate here, even if we achieve, say, 10% of what Singapore has done over the next 10 years. That would be a game changer. The youngsters sitting here will not be looking towards, the opportunities outside the country. You will have ample opportunities down here, right around your place itself. So these are some of the opportunities. So I just wanted to showcase. In fact, I still feel that this is one of the best kept secrets of the state, where a state has dared to dream large and it has been made a reality. Now it's going to be scaled up 4 times in the next 4 years' time by 2028 December. So this is a golden opportunity to remove some of the stress that Narayana sir has mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sri Kumar Nair, for giving us a lot of ideas about how to follow up the investment we have already made in Vizhinjam. Of course, now so many of those things will have to be taken up in the subsequent years in following budgets, etc. Now, let me invite Sri Anup Ambika, CEO of Kerala Startup Mission, to speak.
Thank you, sir. Honorable dignitaries, faculties, professors on the dais, off the dais, my dear students, youngsters who are sitting here. I think is there a small sound that is coming up? Oh, thank you. I think I'll start with probably asking the question. I saw a few people sleeping in the audience, so maybe, we can just, ruffle them up a little bit. So we'll start with aspirations. How many of you are from Kerala? I'm asking the youngsters who are sitting in the audience. All of you are from Kerala, but I saw somebody from outside. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, where are you from? Nigeria, yes. Yes, that I realized. So we talk about aspirations. How many of you want to do a job after studying what you're studying? And what is the salary that you expect in your first job? People are often shy about talking money, In Kerala, it is considered bad. What is the salary? Anybody has got any numbers? Somebody doesn't volunteer, I can always pick somebody from the audience. Go ahead, please. You, yes. What is the first salary that you would like to draw once you pass out of college, complete your education? 50,000, right? So this is a number, and it's very interesting. And I just, again, aspiration is something that I want to go back to. Few years back, actually, when the government was formulating the knowledge economy mission, we had a meeting with the DYFI state leadership, which I'm considering as the socialists of the world. So I asked them, what is the salary that you would like to have? And they said 30,000 from that audience. A few years later, I went to Taliparamba for a student conclave where we were talking to +2 students. And I asked them, what is the salary that you would like to have? And some of the kids stood up and said that 1 lakh. And I asked, is it a yearly salary that you're talking about? And they said, no, monthly, we would like to make 1 lakh. Now, as you grow older, I think you realize a little bit better. So now we are at, 50,000, 60,000. So that's the kind of jobs that we are looking at. So I will go back to Sri Kumar sir's point that many people would want to have that 50,000 rupee job. So what do I do? That becomes our basic problem. Our aspirations have gone up. Post-COVID, our aspirations has really grown up because we have started to watch a lot of Netflix, a lot of Instagram, what is happening in the outside world. The peers who have already traveled to Canada or to UK and putting reels with snow and all that stuff. Now the pressure is all on you to outperform your peers. And you want to really, do this. I don't know how to do this, right? So you go abroad, or you go to Bangalore, you go to Chennai, you go to Canada, New Zealand, US if possible, etc., etc. So it brings us back to the original problem of, will we be able to create reasonably paying, I wouldn't say high paying jobs, because high paying now, what is the biggest salary that you heard about in the recent past? Did anyone hear or see that news about, I don't know if it is OpenAI or Meta? I think Zuckerberg was trying to hire a MSc, integrated MSc mathematician from IIT. He was working in some other competitor, if I remember OpenAI, for, I don't know, 1,000 crores or something like that. But yeah. No, I'm just saying. So salary is a perception. What I'm trying to say is, how do we create reasonably performing or reasonably paying jobs in the state? And that is where the notion of knowledge economy becomes very important, because you don't want to work for 10,000, you don't want to work for 15,000 as a insurance agent. So you go to Swiggy, which might get you 25,000 or 30,000 rupees. So I want to give you a few stories, and I'll start with my village. I come from a village called Perimbulikal, which is near Pandalam, Central Travancore. Sir was mentioning about how property taxes are higher in those panchayats. And there is between Adur and Pandalam, there is a road that travels inside to my house. And the road is really good. With the KIFBI funding, we have spent around 200 crores in building that road. And I go there to my village and I see probably 100, 200 families with only elderlies living in that village. So one of the biggest problems that we see in the Central Travancore, in Pathanamthitta, in Kottayam, in Idukki, is that the geriatric population is on the rise. Everybody is leaving those districts and going somewhere else. And we are spending our capital expenditure. And I want to go back to the capital expenditure that you talked about. Is it worthwhile spending that kind of money in building a road in Perimbulikal for 200 crores? I travel across Kerala as part of this job, and I see what is called ASAP community skill parks. And I'm sure many of you have seen that. There is one in Vizhinjam, actually skilling people on port-related jobs. There is one in Kottarakara that I've seen in Kannur, Kasaragod. I think we have taken an ADB loan to put that up across all 14 districts. I think there are 18 of them right now. How are we capitalizing on that expenditure that we have done in the past? How are we using that infrastructure? So a road that is 200 crores, the community skill parks that on which probably you have spent several crores. Do we think about how do we capitalize on this expenditure? How do we make money out of this and make it self-sustainable? And that is, I think, one thing that we need to seriously think about is do an infrastructure audit on everything that we have done and try to make revenue out of that. The second thing, and I'm just going to go through the stories. You can just come in and say that my time is up, and I'll stop. The second story is about Viഴിഞ്ഞം Port. So I just want to give you a taste of a story that I heard from an entrepreneur. There is a company called Systrome Technologies. I'm sure Srikumar sir is aware of that, which has come and set up shop in Kazhakottam. Systrome is the name of the company. They do electronic manufacturing services. Electronic manufacturing services is you take all the small components and bring it together and create electronics and then export. So Anil, who was running that company, told me that, why did I set up shop in Trivandrum? I set up shop in Trivandrum only because there is the port. And he gave me a small example. So how it used to happen before, and much like what Sir said, you will source the components from the South Asia or Southeast Asia, bring it to Colombo. From Colombo, it will go to Bombay. And from Bombay, it will go to Gurgaon. The electronic manufacturing used to happen there because of the lower labor cost. Then come all the way down and then go to Colombo and wait for a few days and then get shipped to Africa or Europe. So imagine the kind of time delays that will be there in each shipment. So what he was saying is that if I can have electronic manufacturing services out of Trivandrum, I save 15 days out of that one shipment. And that 15 days equates to probably 2 to 5 crores is the number that he gave. So for every shipment, you save 2 to 5 crores. And that is the opportunity of Viഴിഞ്ഞം. You can do this in electronics. You can do this in pharmaceuticals. You can do this in, we have KMML. You can do value addition of minerals and export. You can do food products. You can do fisheries. There is a lot of things, perishables especially, because time matters in that shipment. So that is the kind of opportunity that Viഴിഞ്ഞം, and Srikumar sir laid out all the port-related activities. But I want you to think that beyond the port-related activities, there is also this huge business opportunities that can come in what is called the Trivandrum, Kollam, Tenkasi, Punalur corridor or triangle, as the government envisions it. So you can use the Pathanamthitta, the land that is available in Pathanamthitta or Kollam or Tenkasi, and export items to the rest of the world, and maybe even able to beat the tariff wars that we were having by significantly reducing the cost of exporting to other countries. So that is one thing that I want you to keep in mind as you move forward. The second one is about the decentralized development. So we keep saying this. Why does people come to Trivandrum and set up shop, or Cochin and set up shop? And Bangalore has so many. Do you know how many people work in the IT industry in India? Wide guess, I'm sure many of you learn policy. And in total, how many people work in the IT industry in India? Any numbers? Sir? 50 lakhs, 5 million people. 50 lakh people work in the IT industry in India, and out of which, what do you call, statistic that has been floating around, no scientific or statistical support for it, says that 20% of the people are from Kerala. That is 10 lakh people out of the 50 lakh that is working in the IT industry in India are from Kerala. But Kerala only gives 2 lakh jobs. So the 8 lakh is working elsewhere. So how do we bring that 8 lakh people back to Kerala? Why should people come back to Kerala when Bangalore and Telangana has got such great infrastructure? How many of you have visited Telangana? I'm told, I have not gone to T-Hub. You have been to that belt where activity is happening. I'm told that it is like New York City. If you drive across Telangana to that T-Hub and the activity hub, I'm told that it's like New York City. That is the infrastructure that is available in Telangana. That is the infrastructure that has already been available in Bangalore when I was actually working there in 95. So why would people come to Kerala? For setting up a knowledge industry. And we say that there is only one reason. That is decentralized development and quality of life. Kerala is an urban agglomeration. It is not villages. It is like this one stretch and a big city where you will be able to do your knowledge centric job from anywhere in the world. I mean, for any place in the world. And that gives you an excellent opportunity to get away from the urban problems, which is pollution, lack of resources like water, traffic, quality of life. People from Bangalore says that life is hell in Bangalore. And now we have this excellent opportunity of decentralizing. Kindly conclude in 2 minutes. Yes. So basically, Soho came and set up an R&D center. So how many people have heard about the company called Soho? What is that? Oh, yesterday Minister mentioned about it. So Sridhar Vembu has done this experiment in Tenkasi. He's trying to do that experiment in Kottarakara. And they have set up an R&D center, which will grow to around 250 people, which will create high quality jobs in AI, robotics, maybe some electronics, semiconductors, etc. in the days to come. They immediately followed with an investment of 100 crores into a semiconductor company that is based out of Trivandrum. So they are very serious about pursuing this opportunity. So decentralized development is another thing that we want to seriously look at and create infrastructure. And that is where, sir, your point of what is the responsibility of the panchayat? The panchayat is supposed to facilitate this. The local economic development is also the mandate of the panchayat where they will be able to facilitate this. I know my time is up. I'll just say that we are at an inflection point where AI is taking over a lot of things. We will see, and this is my prediction, the 50 lakh jobs that we see in the IT industry as we speak, I think will come down by 30% in the next 2 to 3 years. I personally am a software engineer. I write code. I try to write code using the new AI tools, and I'm like so amazed with the speed at which you will be able to develop an application. And that same thing will apply in research. You will be able to find new drugs. You will be able to formulate policies. Somebody asked me to write an AI policy for the state. I just went to ChatGPT and asked this draft a policy, and it gives me work that otherwise it'll take me like at least a week to put together. I mean, not that it's great, but it'll significantly increase your productivity, which means that the kind of people that you would require to do the job is going to come down. So my take is also that we should embark upon an AI mission wherein we empower every citizen, every student, every taxi driver, every teacher, every doctor of the state to embrace AI and use the possibilities of AI to enhance the knowledge economy of the state. With that, thank you so much for the opportunity, sir, and it's a pleasure.
So thank you, Anubhav Ambika, for introducing many challenges related to the knowledge economy. And he was also indirectly hinting about the question of prioritization. In fact, Anup Ambika is from my neighborhood. Pandalam is not very far away from my place. And he was mentioning about this Kidby road. Certainly, in the future, we will probably need to prioritize our investment when we make roads and other infrastructure. We will have to probably, as he was giving other examples also, try to use our resources with a higher sense of prioritization because of the fiscal strain, such prioritization will be important at the state level as well as at the level of local governments. Now, I'll invite Sri Elias John. Yeah, you're there. Yeah, you can start. Sri Elias John, please. Hello. And we will have to make some arrangement here. Please wait. You will have to start again. Oh, you should unmute your mic. Not audible.
I think now it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Can I start?
Yeah, yeah.
Good morning, especially the chair. നമ്മൾ ഇടയ്ക്കിടയ്ക്ക് മീറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിലും nothing much progress in the subject. Post-COVID development. I am audible now? Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible. No problems.
Okay. Post-COVID development challenges and response to the state of Kerala. Sorry, just a minute. എനിക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും പ്രോബ്ലം ഉണ്ടോ എന്ന് ചെക്ക് ചെയ്യായിരുന്നു ഇടയ്ക്ക് വന്നു. Sorry. I was going through the documents. When director of GIFT invited me, I thought I should not participate in this seminar. Why should I waste my time? എല്ലാവർക്കും അവരവരുടെ സമയത്തിന് വിലയുള്ളതാണല്ലോ. പിന്നെയും വിചാരിച്ചു മൈ റിജോയിൻഡർ, എനിക്കുള്ള താല്പര്യക്കുറവ് കുറച്ചുകൂടെ പബ്ലിക്കായിട്ട് അറിയിക്കണമെന്ന് എനിക്ക് തോന്നി. ഇവിടെ വലിയ സബ്ജക്ട്സ് ഒക്കെയാണ് പറയുന്നത്. സോഷ്യൽ പ്രൊട്ടക്ഷൻ, എംപ്ലോയ്മെന്റ്, ഇൻഇക്വാലിറ്റി, പോവർട്ടി, മൈഗ്രേഷൻ, ഹ്യൂമൻ ഡെവലപ്മെന്റ്, ജെൻഡർ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ്, ഡീസെൻട്രലൈസ്ഡ് ഡെവലപ്മെന്റ്, എൻവയോൺമെന്റ്, ഡിസാസ്റ്റർ മാനേജ്മെന്റ്. കഴിഞ്ഞ 30-35 വർഷമായിട്ട് ഒരുപാട് സെമിനാറുകൾ ഞാൻ പങ്കെടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട് ആസ് എ ജേർണലിസ്റ്റ്. പക്ഷേ 2024 മുതൽ ഒരു പർട്ടിക്കുലർ സബ്ജക്ട്, ഈ പറയുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ, എസ്പെഷ്യലി ഇൻഇക്വാലിറ്റി, ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ, വിൽ അഡ്രസ് ഇറ്റ്. Gender perspective, I don't know. Except that these 8 items, social protection, employment, poverty, migration, human development, decentralized development, തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും എൻവയോൺമെന്റ്, ഡിസാസ്റ്റർ മാനേജ്മെന്റ്, ഇതെല്ലാം അഡ്രസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ഇഷ്യൂ 2024 പ്രീ ബഡ്ജറ്റ് ഡിസ്കഷന് എന്നെ വിളിച്ചിരുന്നു. ഓണറബിൾ മിനിസ്റ്റർ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു അതിനകത്ത്. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ അതിനകത്തൊരു സൊല്യൂഷൻ പറഞ്ഞു. വി ഹാവ് ബീൻ ഫൈറ്റിംഗ് ഫോർ ദിസ് പ്രൊജക്ട് ഫോർ വിഴിഞ്ഞം പ്രോജക്റ്റ്. അനൂപ് വാസ് ടെല്ലിംഗ്, I didn't hear what Sri Kumar sir said. We have been fighting for this project for the last 3 decades. അപ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഉദ്ദേശം എന്താണ്? ഓവറോൾ ഡെവലപ്മെന്റ്, കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ ഓവറോൾ ഡെവലപ്മെന്റിന് വേണ്ടിയായിരുന്നു ആ പ്രൊജക്ട്. വാട്ട് ഇസ് ദ കറന്റ് സിനാരിയോ? റൈറ്റ് നൗ 428 വെസൽസ് ഓൾറെഡി ബർത്ത്. 428. ആരും ഇത് അംഗീകരിച്ചിരുന്നില്ല. When we talk all these things, 10 years back, 20 years back, nobody believed. ഇപ്പോൾ 428 കപ്പൽ ഇവിടെ വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞു. ദാറ്റ് ടു ദ ലാർജസ്റ്റ് വെസൽസ് ലൈക്ക് MSC ഐറിന. ലോകത്തിലെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ കണ്ടെയ്നർ വെസൽ നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ വന്നു. നമ്മളാരും അത്ര വലിയ കാര്യമായിട്ടൊന്നും അറിഞ്ഞില്ല. ഇന്നലെ അദാനി ഗ്രൂപ്പിന്റെ അവരുടെ റിലീസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, ക്വാർട്ടർലി റിലീസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അതിനകത്ത് അവർ പറഞ്ഞു ദേ ഹാവ് അച്ചീവ്ഡ് 100% യൂട്ടിലൈസേഷൻ. തുടങ്ങി 9 മാസത്തിനകം ദേ അച്ചീവ്ഡ് 100% യൂട്ടിലൈസേഷൻ ഓഫ് എ പ്രൊജക്ട്. ഇത് കേരളത്തിലോ ഇന്ത്യയിലോ പോസിബിൾ ആണ്, ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്ത് പോസിബിൾ ആണെന്ന് അവർ തന്നെ പറയുന്നു. അപ്പൊ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ളൊരു ഒരു സിനാരിയോയിൽ ഞാൻ തുടക്കത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞ ഈ സെമിനാറിൽ അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ താല്പര്യമില്ല എന്ന് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞതിന് കാരണം, ഈ സെമിനാറിനപ്പുറം ഇതൊന്നും നടക്കാത്തൊരു നാടായി നമ്മുടെ കേരളം മാറിയിരിക്കുകയാണ്. ഇവിടെ വന്ന് നമുക്ക് വളരെ നമ്മുടെ ബൗദ്ധികമായ അന്വേഷണത്തിൻ്റെയും പഠനത്തിൻ്റെയും കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യും, കണക്കുകൾ നിരത്തി സംസാരിക്കും. അനൂപ് വാസ് ടെല്ലിംഗ് ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് തിങ്സ്. ഞാൻ വളരെ കുറച്ചേ കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ളൂ. ഞാനൊരു റിബലാണ്, ഒരു അസുരവിത്വ. എന്നെ ശ്രീ EK നായനാർ ക്യാബിനറ്റിൽ നിന്ന് ഇറക്കി വിട്ട ആളാണ്. LDF വിരോധം കൊണ്ടൊന്നുമല്ല. AK ആന്റണിയും ആവർത്തിച്ചു. AK ആന്റണിയും എന്നെ ഇറക്കി വിട്ടു. പ്രസ് ക്ലബ് എന്നെ ഇറക്കി വിട്ടു. പ്രസ് ക്ലബിന്റെ യൂണിയൻ കേസരി മെമ്മോറിയൽ അവിടെ നിന്ന് ഇറക്കി വിട്ടു. അപ്പോൾ കേരളത്തിലെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട 4 സ്ഥാപനങ്ങളിൽ നിന്ന് 4 ബിഗ് ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷൻ, അറിയാമല്ലോ, ക്യാബിനറ്റ് എന്ന ഒരു ജേർണലിസ്റ്റിനെ ഇറക്കി വിട്ടാൽ പിന്നെ അയാളുടെ ഫ്യൂച്ചർ എന്തായിരിക്കും? ഈവൻ നൗ ഐ ആം സർവൈവിങ്, വി ആർ സർവൈവിങ്. ഇവിടുന്ന് ഈ സെമിനാറിൽ നിന്ന് തന്നെ ഇറക്കി വിട്ടാൽ ഐ വിൽ ബി മോസ്റ്റ് ഹാപ്പി. കാരണം ഐ ക്യാൻ സേ ഐ ഗോട്ട് എ ഗിഫ്റ്റ് ഫ്രം ഗിഫ്റ്റ്. ഇവിടുന്ന് ഇറക്കി വിടുമെന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത്.
ഞാനൊരു ജോക്ക് ഷെയർ ചെയ്യട്ടെ. അങ്ങ് ക്യാബിനറ്റിൽ നിന്ന് ഇറക്കി വിടപ്പെട്ടെങ്കിലും പല മുഖ്യമന്ത്രിമാരും ഒഴിവാക്കിയെങ്കിലും, പക്ഷെ നിങ്ങളെ വീണ്ടും എല്ലാവരും തന്നെ കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ട് വിത്ത് റെസ്പെക്ട്, വിത്ത് ഡ്യൂ കൺസിഡറേഷൻ.
എനിക്കറിയില്ല, അതൊരു ഭാഗ്യമായിരിക്കാം ചിലപ്പോൾ.
അതൊരു
എന്തായാലും
ധൈര്യം.
ഇന്നിപ്പോ മിക്കവാറും നിങ്ങൾ എന്നെ ഇറക്കി വിടുമായിരിക്കും. കാരണം 2024 പ്രീ ബഡ്ജറ്റ് മീറ്റിംഗിൽ when Mr. Balagopal, K.N. Balagopal was participating in it, ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു പ്രൊജക്റ്റ് വന്നു, വിഴിഞ്ഞം തുറമുഖം വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്, നമുക്ക് അതിൽ നിന്ന് ഒരുപാട് ബെനിഫിറ്റ് ഉണ്ടാവും. പക്ഷേ വാട്ട് അബൌട്ട് ദി കോമൺ മാൻ? ഞാൻ അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു ക്ലാസിക്കൽ എക്സാമ്പിൾ പറയാം. അദാനി ഗോട്ട് 248 വെസൽ വന്നപ്പോൾ he got around $10,000 per 30,000 gross tonnage vessel. ഇവിടെ വരുന്ന വെസലെല്ലാം മേ ബി എ ലാക്ക് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ $30,000 ആയി. ഒരു കപ്പൽ വരുമ്പോൾ മിനിമം $30,000, $20,000 ഇവിടെ കിട്ടുന്നുണ്ട് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്. ഇൻറ്റു 428 വെസൽസ്, യു ക്യാൻ ജസ്റ്റ് കാൽക്കുലേറ്റ് വാട്ട് ദ ഇൻകം Adani Group generated during the last 1 year. What about the common man? What about the public? അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു കേസ് സ്റ്റഡി ആയിട്ട് ഞങ്ങൾ കഴിഞ്ഞ 30 വർഷമായിട്ട് ഈ സമരം ചെയ്യുന്നതിൻ്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ട് ഈ പ്രോജക്റ്റ് ഏരിയയിൽ പലതവണ പോയിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോഴൊക്കെ ഈ പ്രസംഗം കഴിഞ്ഞ് വഴക്കുണ്ടാക്കി അടിയൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ട് അവസാനം ഒരു ചായ കുടിക്കാൻ ഒരു സ്ഥലത്ത് വരും. ആ കടക്കാരൻ്റെ അവിടെ ഞങ്ങൾ ചായ കുടിച്ചിട്ടാണ് പിരിയുന്നത്. ആ കടക്കാരനെ കഴിഞ്ഞ ദിവസം ഒരു 6 മാസം മുമ്പ് ഞാൻ കണ്ടിരുന്നു. അദ്ദേഹം പറഞ്ഞത്, ഈ തുറമുഖം വന്നതുകൊണ്ട് ഒരു അഡീഷണൽ ചായ എനിക്കിവിടെ വിൽക്കാൻ പറ്റിയിട്ടില്ല. തുറമുഖത്തിന്റെ വാതിക്കലിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ചായക്കടയാണെന്ന് ഓർത്തോളണം. See, that is the impact this port has created among the public, among the common man. എത്രയാണ് അവർ മുടക്കിയിരിക്കുന്നത്? 5,500 കോടി രൂപ. Public money spent 5,500 crores. What is the outcome? Big zero. അപ്പൊ ഈ ഒരു സിനാരിയോ 2024 ബഡ്ജറ്റിൽ എന്നെ എന്തുകൊണ്ട് വിളിച്ചു എന്ന് പോലും എനിക്ക് അറിയില്ല. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, we have a best solution. Common man, right from കാസർഗോഡ്. എന്താണ് ഇവിടെ തിരുവനന്തപുരത്തിരിക്കുന്ന തുറമുഖത്തിന്റെ ഇമ്പാക്ട് കാസർഗോഡ് ഇന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചാൽ പറ്റുമെന്ന് ഞാൻ 2024 ബഡ്ജറ്റ് മീറ്റിംഗിന് മുമ്പ്, ബഡ്ജറ്റ് സെഷന് മുമ്പ് അദ്ദേഹത്തോട് പറഞ്ഞു. ഐ തോട്ട് സംതിങ് വിൽ കം ഇൻ ദി 24 ബഡ്ജറ്റ്. അൺഫോർച്ചുനേറ്റ്ലി നത്തിങ്. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് തന്നെ ഗിഫ്റ്റിന്റെ തന്നെ സെമിനാറിൽ, കഴിഞ്ഞ വർഷത്തെ സെമിനാറിൽ എന്നെ വിളിച്ചു. സെയിം തിങ് ഐ റിപ്പീറ്റ്. ഇപ്പോൾ 2025 ആയിട്ട് 2025 ബഡ്ജറ്റിൽ ഒന്നും വന്നില്ല. നത്തിങ്. ഒരു കാര്യവും ഇവിടെ നടന്നിട്ടില്ല. ഈ 2024 മുതൽ 2025 ഈ സമയം വരെ 2 കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ സംഭവിച്ചു. ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് സബ്ജക്റ്റിൽ ഇപ്പോഴും വന്നിട്ടില്ല. ഡോക്ടർ ഹരിലാൽ എനിക്ക് പെർമിഷൻ തരാണെങ്കിൽ മാത്രമേ ഞാൻ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്യുന്നുള്ളൂ. 2 കാര്യം സംഭവിച്ചത്. ഒരു മലയാളി ചെറുപ്പക്കാരൻ ഫ്രം ട്രിവാൻഡ്രം, he is sailing in a vessel which would be normally travel from Trinidad and Tobago. നമ്മൾ ഈ ഒളിമ്പിക്സിലൊക്കെ മാത്രമാണ് ആ രാജ്യങ്ങളുടെ ഫ്ലാഗും പേരും ഒക്കെ കേൾക്കുന്നത്. ട്രിനിഡാഡ് ആൻഡ് ടൊബാഗോ രാജ്യം എന്നൊന്നും പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ഇറ്റ് വിൽ ബി എ സിറ്റി സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ലൈക്ക്. അവിടെ നിന്ന് ഒരു മലയാളി ചെറുപ്പക്കാരൻ വിൻസെന്റ്, ഈസ് ഓൾമോസ്റ്റ് ട്രാവലിംഗ് once in 3 months. എന്താ ചെയ്യുന്നത്? ഹീസ് ടേക്കിംഗ് കാർഗോ, എ ഫ്യൂച്ചർ ഫ്യൂവൽ. ഈസ് ടേക്കിംഗ് കാർഗോ ഫ്രം ട്രിനിഡാഡ് ആൻഡ് സപ്ലൈയിങ് ടു യൂറോപ്യൻ പോർട്സ്, ആംസ്റ്റർഡാം, റോട്ടർഡാം, ഹാംബർഗ്, സിമിലർ പോർട്സ്. അപ്പൊ അദ്ദേഹം എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞു, ഒരു ഹ്യൂജ് പൊട്ടൻഷ്യൽ ഉണ്ട്, വൈ കാൻ വി ട്രൈ ദിസ് ന്യൂ ഫ്യൂവൽ? ഇപ്പൊ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, 2024 പ്രീ ബഡ്ജറ്റ് സെഷനിൽ ഐ ഡിസ്കസ്ഡ് വിത്ത് നമ്മുടെ ഓണറബിൾ മിനിസ്റ്റർ, ബട്ട് നത്തിങ് ഈസ് ഹാപ്പനിങ് ഹിയർ. സോ ദ ഫ്യൂച്ചർ ഇസ് വെരി ബ്ലീക്ക് ഹിയർ. അപ്പൊ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് ഈ ഫ്യൂവലിൽ താല്പര്യമുണ്ട്. രണ്ടാമത്തെ കാര്യം, ലാസ്റ്റ് വീക്ക് കൊച്ചിയിൽ ഒരു സ്ഥാപനം തുടങ്ങി. അവരിതിന്റെ സിമുലേറ്റർ സ്ഥാപിച്ചു. നമ്മുടെ കേരളത്തിലാണ് ഇതൊക്കെ നടക്കുന്നതെന്ന് ഓർക്കണം. ഈ പറയുന്ന പുതിയ ഫ്യൂവൽ കപ്പലിൽ കൊടുക്കുന്നതിൻ്റെ ഒരു പരീക്ഷണം, സിമുലേറ്റർ അറിയാമല്ലോ, അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു നടത്തുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ ഈ ഒരു പുതിയ ഫ്യൂവൽ ഉപയോഗിക്കുവാൻ currently 60 vessels are sailing in all over the world. 60 vessels, and the projection is around 350 vessels by 2030. 350 vessels. ഒരു വെസലിന്റെ ഇൻടേക്ക് എത്രയാണെന്ന് അറിയാമല്ലോ. ഈ these vessels can come and anchor here, come and berth here and take this fuel from our port. The beauty is we can produce this fuel. We can produce this fuel. Unfortunately, നമ്മുടെ മിനിസ്റ്ററിനും താല്പര്യമില്ല, ഗിഫ്റ്റിന്റെ ഡയറക്ടറിനും താല്പര്യമില്ല, ഡോക്ടർ ഹരിലാലിനും താല്പര്യമില്ല. താല്പര്യമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്യാം, അതർവൈസ് ഐ വിൽ സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ഇറ്റ് ഹിയർ. ഇതിന്റെ താങ്ക് യു പെർമിഷൻ തന്നതിന്. ഇതിന്റെ കറന്റ് സിനാരിയോ 2024 ദി കറന്റ് പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻ ഇസ് 1279.4 കിലോ ടൺ. ഞാൻ ആദ്യമായിട്ടാണ് ഈ കിലോ ടൺ എന്നൊക്കെ കേൾക്കുന്നത്. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ 6 പൂജ്യം വരും. 1279.4 കിലോ ടണ്ണാണ് ഗ്ലോബൽ പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻ. Market size, not production, market size. By 2030, that will reach to 10,019.6 kiloton. And the CAGR എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് 40.9% ആണ്. നമ്മുടെ ഇൻഡസ്ട്രിയിൽ എവിടെയെങ്കിലും നമ്മൾ ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു CAGR കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? കോമ്പൗണ്ടഡ് ഗ്രോത്ത് ആനുവൽ റേറ്റ്. ഞാൻ പരിധിയപ്പോൾ 10%, മാക്സിമം 13-14% കോമ്പൗണ്ടഡ് ആനുവൽ ഗ്രോത്ത്. ഇൻ ദിസ് സെക്ടർ it is 40.9% growth over a period of 4 years. എന്താണ് ഈ ഫ്യൂവൽ നമ്മളുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധം? കാസർഗോഡ് ഇരിക്കുന്ന സാധാരണ മനുഷ്യന് ഈ ഫ്യൂവൽ ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ പറ്റും, ഉൽപ്പാദിപ്പിക്കാൻ പറ്റും. കേരളത്തിന് ഗ്ലോബൽ ഡിമാൻഡ് ഏകദേശം 1 കോടി ടൺ. 1 കോടി ടൺ ഗ്ലോബൽ ഡിമാൻഡ് വരുന്ന സമയത്ത് കേരള ക്യാൻ പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് 13.5 ലക്ഷം ടൺ. 13.5 ലക്ഷം ടൺ കേരളത്തിന് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. നമ്മൾ അറബിയുടെ ഫ്യൂവലിന്റെ പുറകെ, ഫോസിൽ ഫ്യൂവലിന്റെ ഒക്കെ പുറകെ നടക്കുകയാണ് ഇപ്പോഴും ഹ്യൂജ് ക്വാണ്ടിറ്റി ഇമ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഇപ്പൊ 60 വെസൽ കടലിൽ ഓടുന്നുണ്ട്. 380 വെസലായിട്ട് ഓർഡർ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന വെസലാണ്. ഇതിന്റെ ഫ്യൂവൽ വിഴിഞ്ഞം വഴി, വല്ലാർപാടം വഴി, ഈവൻ ബേപ്പൂർ വഴി, അഴീക്കൽ വഴി വി ക്യാൻ സപ്ലൈ. വി കോൾ ഇറ്റ് ബങ്കറിംഗ്. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഫ്യൂവൽ 13.5 ലക്ഷം ടൺ കേരളത്തിന് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. ആരെങ്കിലും കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? നമ്മൾ എന്താണ് സബ്ജക്ട്? എന്താണ്? വാട്ട് ഈസ് ഫ്യൂച്ചർ? ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിംഗ് ഇൻ ദ ഫ്യൂച്ചർ അല്ലെ? ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിംഗ് ഫോർ ദ ഫ്യൂച്ചർ. കേരള വിച്ച് വേ നൗ? ഇതിന്റെ ബ്യൂട്ടി ഒരു സ്കില്ലും ആവശ്യമില്ലാത്ത, അനൂപ് പറയുന്ന +2 കുട്ടികളെ കുറിച്ചാണ് പറയുന്നത്. ഇത് ഒരു വിദ്യാഭ്യാസവും വേണ്ട, ഒരു വിദ്യാഭ്യാസവും ഇല്ലാത്ത, ഞാൻ ഒരു യൂണിറ്റിന്റെ കാര്യം പറയാം. 15 പേർക്ക് ജോലി കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റും. ഒരു ABCD എഴുതാൻ അറിഞ്ഞുകൂടാത്ത, സ്കൂളിൽ പോയിട്ടില്ലാത്ത 15 പേർക്ക്. ITI ഡിപ്ലോമ കെമിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് 11 പേർക്ക്. വിത്ത് ആൻ ഇൻവെസ്റ്റ്മെന്റ് ഓഫ് 25 crore. ജസ്റ്റ് 25 crore and 2 acres land, you can give employment of 15 + 10, 26 പേർക്ക് ജോലി കൊടുക്കാം. The investment is only 25 crore. ഇതിനകത്ത് നിന്ന്, എൻ്റെ ഇക്കണോമിക്സിൽ നിന്ന് കേരളത്തിന് 5000 കോടി രൂപ പ്രതിവർഷം ഏൺ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന, റൈറ്റ് ഫ്രം കാസർഗോഡ് ടു പാറശാല, ഈച്ച് ആൻഡ് എവറി പഞ്ചായത്ത് യു ക്യാൻ ഡു ദിസ്, വിച്ച് ഈസ് കോൾഡ് മെത്തനോൾ. മെത്തനോൾ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഫ്യൂച്ചർ ഫ്യൂവൽ, അതിൻ്റെ ഡിമാൻഡ് 1 കോടി ടണ്ണാണ് ബൈ 2030. ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഫ്യൂവൽ കേരളത്തിന് ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ പറ്റുമെന്ന് 2024 ബഡ്ജറ്റിന് മുമ്പ് മന്ത്രിയുടെ മുമ്പാകെ ഞാൻ പറയുകയും ഫിനാൻസ് സെക്രട്ടറി ബെസ്റ്റ് പ്രപ്പോസലായിട്ട് ആ മീറ്റിംഗിൽ എക്നോളജ് ചെയ്യുകയും ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഇന്ന് വരെ കേരളം മെത്തനോൾ പോയിട്ട് എന്നുള്ളൊരു വാക്ക് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? 60 കപ്പൽ ഓടുകയാണ് നമ്മുടെ മുമ്പിൽ കൂടെ. 60 കപ്പൽ ഇപ്പോഴും ഓടുന്നു. യു ക്യാൻ വെരിഫൈ വിച്ച് ആർ ദ വെസൽസ്. ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ മേസ്കിന്റെ വെസൽസ് ആണ്. ലോറ മോസ്ക് ഉണ്ട്, എയിൻ മോസ്ക് ഉണ്ട്, എഡ്രിയാൻ മോസ്ക് ഉണ്ട്. അവരുടെ ഏറ്റവും ഒടുവിലത്തെ കപ്പൽ ആൽബർട്ട മോസ്ക് ബോംബെയിൽ നിന്നാണ് അവർ ക്രിസ്ത്യൻ പേരിട്ടത്. ഇതെല്ലാം ഓടുന്നത് മെത്തനോൾ ഫ്യൂവലിലാണ്. ദിസ് ഫ്യൂവൽ നമുക്ക് ഫോസിൽ ഫ്യൂവൽ കേരളത്തിന് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമോ? സപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമോ? ബട്ട് ദിസ് ഫ്യൂവൽ റൈറ്റ് ഫ്രം കാസർഗോഡ്, ഞാൻ കാസർഗോഡ് പറയുന്നത് ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് കേരള ഏരിയ എന്നുള്ള, നമ്മുടെ ഒരു സ്റ്റേറ്റ് എന്നുള്ള നിലയ്ക്കാണ്. വിച്ച് ക്യാൻ ബി പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ്ഡ് ഇൻ കർണാടക, വിച്ച് ക്യാൻ ബി പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ്ഡ് ഇൻ തമിഴ്നാട്. ഹ്യൂജ് ക്വാണ്ടിറ്റി ക്യാൻ ബി പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ്ഡ് ഇൻ ഓൾ ഓവർ ഇന്ത്യ. എന്താണ് റോ മെറ്റീരിയൽ? റോ മെറ്റീരിയൽ ഇസ് യുവർ കിച്ചൺ വേസ്റ്റ്. റോ മെറ്റീരിയൽ ഇസ് യുവർ മുനിസിപ്പൽ വേസ്റ്റ്. റോ മെറ്റീരിയൽ ഇസ് യുവർ സ്യൂവേജ്. ഇത് സായിപ്പ് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മാത്രമേ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കണം ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ച്. ഇപ്പോൾ ഇത്രയും ഒരു പൊട്ടൻഷ്യൽ ഉള്ള ഒരു വിഷയത്തിൽ എംപ്ലോയ്മെന്റ് ജനറേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന കാര്യവും പറഞ്ഞു. 300 യൂണിറ്റ് കേരളത്തിൽ 300 യൂണിറ്റ് ഈസി ആയിട്ട് ആരംഭിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന റോ മെറ്റീരിയൽ റെഡിലി അവൈലബിൾ. ഞാൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കുന്നത് നമ്മുടെ മുനിസിപ്പൽ സോളിഡ് വേസ്റ്റ് മെയിൻറ്റെയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ ഒരു വർഷം 3000 കോടി രൂപ നമ്മൾ ADB നിന്നും വേൾഡ് ബാങ്കിൽ നിന്നൊക്കെ ലോൺ എടുക്കുകയാണ്. ഇവിടെ ഒരു മാഫിയ ഉണ്ടെന്നാണ് ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്. എന്നെ ഇറക്കി വിടാൻ സമയമാവുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇവിടെ ഒരു മാഫിയ ഉണ്ട്, വേസ്റ്റ് മാഫിയ. ആ മാഫിയ യു കനോട്ട് ചാലഞ്ച് ഇറ്റ്, യു കനോട്ട് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ദം ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് ദ പ്രസൻസ്.
ഇവിടെ നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെഷന്റെ ഓരോ സ്പീക്കേഴ്സിനും കൊടുത്തൊരു സമയമുണ്ട്.
ഞാൻ അവസാനം ഒരു സെന്റൻസ് വായിച്ചിട്ട് അവസാനിപ്പിക്കാം. ഈ പ്രപ്പോസൽ വെച്ചിട്ട് ഒരു ചാർട്ടേഡ് അക്കൗണ്ടന്റ് അദ്ദേഹം ഒരു പ്രപ്പോസൽ റെഡിയാക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ ഒരു സെന്റൻസ് ഞാൻ വായിച്ച് അവസാനിപ്പിക്കാം. ഇഫ് ദ പ്രൊജക്ട് പ്രപ്പോസൽ ഇസ് അപ്രൂവ്ഡ്, ഓൾ ദ വേസ്റ്റ് മെറ്റീരിയൽസ് excluding glass, metal, etc., can be processed here for production of methanol. Thereby, our cities and villages will be clean, and our local bodies can save huge expenditure on waste management. Thank you very much.
ശ്രീ എലിയാസ് പറഞ്ഞ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഒരു പരിധിവരെ ശരിയാണ്. കാരണം ഞങ്ങൾ കേരള എക്കണോമിക് അസോസിയേഷനും ഗിഫ്റ്റും കൂടി ചേർന്നിട്ട് നേരത്തെ ഇതുപോലെ ഒരു ഡിസ്കഷനിൽ അദ്ദേഹം ഈ മെത്തനോളിൻ്റെ കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞതാണ്. ഇതുപോലുള്ള ഒരുപാട് ആശയങ്ങൾ അക്കാഡമിക് ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷൻസിൽ നിന്നും അല്ലാതെയും ഒക്കെ വരാറുണ്ട്. ഗുലാത്തി സെൻറ്ററിൽ നിന്നും CDSൽ നിന്നും മറ്റ് കേന്ദ്രങ്ങളിൽ നിന്നൊക്കെ പുതിയ ആശയങ്ങൾ വരും. പക്ഷെ അതിനെ ട്രാൻസ്ലേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിൻ്റെ പദ്ധതികളും മറ്റും ആവുന്നതിന് നമ്മൾ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന വേഗതയിൽ ആ കാര്യങ്ങൾ സംഭവിക്കണം ഇല്ല. പക്ഷെ കുറേയധികം കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത് നടക്കുന്നുണ്ട് എന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കി കുറച്ചുകൂടി ക്ഷമയോടുകൂടി വീണ്ടും ഗവൺമെൻറ്റുകളെ ആവശ്യമായ ഉപദേശം കൊടുത്ത് മുമ്പോട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോകണം എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. ഞാൻ ഈ മെഥനോളിൻ്റെ കാര്യത്തിൽ നമ്മുടെ ഇവിടെയുള്ള ബയോ കെമിസ്ട്രി അതുപോലെ തന്നെ കെമിസ്ട്രി പ്രൊഫസർമാരൊക്കെ ആയിട്ട് എൻ്റെ നിലയ്ക്ക് പേഴ്സണലായിട്ട് ഗവൺമെൻറ്റുമായിട്ട് യാതൊരു ബന്ധമുള്ള നിലയ്ക്കല്ല, ഞാൻ അന്വേഷിച്ചിരുന്നു. അവർ ആ സാധ്യതകൾ പറഞ്ഞു. പക്ഷേ ഇപ്പോൾ MG യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റിയിലെ വൈസ് ചാൻസലറായിരുന്ന സാബു തോമസ് അടക്കമുള്ള ആൾക്കാരോട് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തിരുന്നു. പക്ഷേ കൃത്യമായിട്ട് നമുക്ക് അതിന് അത്രയും റിസോഴ്സസ് വരും, അതിൻ്റെ ടെക്നോളജി നമുക്ക് അവൈലബിൾ ആണ്, നമുക്ക് ഒരു സംശയവുമില്ലാതെ അങ്ങോട്ട് എടുത്തു ചാടി പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ച് പോകാൻ കഴിയുന്ന നിലയിലേക്ക് നമുക്ക് എത്തിയോ എന്ന് ചോദിക്കുമ്പോൾ അവർക്ക് അത്രയും കൃത്യമായിട്ടൊരു ഉത്തരം പറയാൻ കഴിയുമായിരുന്നില്ല. ഞാൻ ആ സമയത്ത് കൺസൾട്ട് ചെയ്ത ശ്രീ ഏലിയാസ് പറഞ്ഞതിന് ശേഷം. അപ്പോൾ തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും നമുക്ക് ഇവിടെ ഈ പാനലിൽ തന്നെ നമുക്കിനി ഡിസ്കഷനിലേക്ക് പോകണം. ഈ പാനലിൽ ഉള്ളവരെല്ലാം തന്നെ വളരെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഒരുപാട് ആശയങ്ങൾ മുന്നോട്ട് വെച്ചു. പ്രൊഫസർ നാരായണ, ഇൻഫാക്ട് നോ വി ആർ ഇൻ കോൺസ്റ്റന്റ് ടച്ച് വിത്ത് നാരായണ from the State Finance Commission. We had several rounds of discussions with Narayana, and he has given us valuable suggestions. Similarly, in fact, no, we had discussions with Sri Kumar Nair also. In fact, Divya Iyer and Sri Kumar Nair came. In fact, no, they are speaking to ministers, planning board, other authorities here in Kerala. Of course, Anup Ambiga is a major decision maker. So some of these things are getting translated, and yesterday we had an opportunity to listen to many of them, but there are areas where we are lagging. We are not really running as fast as all of us would expect. Anyway, let us invite the discussion now. There are two discussions, Dhanya Shankar and Anup Kumar. Yeah, Dhanya, you can start.
Respected dignitaries, esteemed panelists, and the participants, a very warm good morning to each one of you. And it is indeed an honor and privilege for me to be the part of this as an opening discussion of this critical session. Investing for the future, Kerala, which way now? See, at a time when the state, the nation, and the world are navigating through this turbulent economic, ecological, and demographic challenges, this question holds very profound significance. And what better gathering than this? Here we are graced by experts who represents Kerala's core strength, actually. And thanks to respected Joseph Sir, Director of GIFT and Secretary General of Globalix, for inviting me to be the opening discussant of this session. And moving on to the points, see, post-COVID, Kerala's response was not just recovery oriented, but it is transformational. We already know that. And let me briefly highlight the Kerala's investment trajectory through the very recent budgets, starting from in 2021-22. We saw that the government announcing a stimulus package of 20,000 crore focusing on the livelihoods, health infrastructure, and rebuilding the economy. And later in 22-23, it further scaled up the investments up to within the 2,000 crore package to address again the inflation, unemployment, and health, especially the long COVID effect. And we know that the Kerala is one among the very few states in India to introduce a very post-COVID surveillance health system, actually. And in 2023-24, a major shift toward the climate sensitive investment like green parks, electric mobility, renewable energy. They were the major budget lines. And the Make in Kerala too, obviously. There was an initiative introduced for the local manufacturing ecosystem to flourish it more. And in 2024-25 budget, it stressed more on the investment in human capital, especially education, public health, and youth employment. And in 2025-26, the most recent one, presents a very comprehensive fiscal consolidation roadmap alongside the continued commitment to social welfare schemes and climate smart investment. See, in essence, from all these budgets, we came to know that Kerala is investing for both future readiness and also for the social equity, right? Okay, today's presentations, throughout the entire sessions, everybody has been offering the multi-dimensional analysis of Kerala's actually post-COVID investment, also the entire investment trajectory of Kerala. And the discussion opened with the critical evaluation of Kerala's fiscal position, highlighting the structural challenges arising from the shrinking fiscal space and the need of renewed fiscal federalism. And the state's investment in maritime infrastructure, notably the transshipment port, was presented as a transformative opportunity to the reposition of Kerala within the global trade networks and stimulate the port-led regional development. And alongside this, the potential urban transformation through different initiatives and with the emphasis of integrated planning, digital infrastructure, inclusive service delivery, etc. And also the discourse has also highlighted the transition towards a knowledge and innovation based economy with the startup ecosystem and as a dynamic space for younger generation, more entrepreneurship, and public investment in digital connectivity, incubation platforms, and tech-based skill development has been identified. See, what Harilal sir started was the main theme was about the One Belt. Yeah, okay. One Belt Road and everything. Everybody has given very unique ideas. And again, I'm just posing some questions for the reflection. That is, can the welfare commitments and the fiscal prudence coexistence in a resource constrained environment here? And how do we measure the returns on public investment, not just in GDP, but in well being, resilience, and human capability? And where is Kerala placing its long term investment and are they yielding inclusive outcome? And how can the startups and traditional sectors coexist and co-create value? Okay, I'm just closing with I'm quoting the 25-26 budget line that the future of Kerala lies not in resisting change, but in steering it with wisdom, inclusion, and resilience. So I now leave the floor for the opening for the discussion for all our distinguished panelists and explore new avenues for investing for the future Kerala, which way now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanya Shankar. Now I call upon Dr. Anup Kumar.
So, good morning, everyone. We are already over the allotted time, so I'm not going to take much time. I'm just going to post a couple of questions and leave it there. That way, that's it. So, investment boils down to mostly we have land, labor, and capital. Right? So, we were talking about the number of jobs created with X, Y, or Z. But my fundamental question is I have some problem with this narrative. Why do someone invest? not only capital investment, financial investment, any type of investment. End of the day, it is for profit, not for employment generation. Employment generation is just a byproduct. If a employer or capitalist can use some technology, even by to say reduce 5% of their workforce, they'll be the first one to do that. So all these narratives of generation of employment, we need to see it critically. And what type of employment we are generating. Is it quality employment, or we are just going into say low skills type of work? That is the problem of labor. Then coming to land again, we are a place with serious land issue, because Sri Anup had mentioned about Telangana. I have lived in Telangana and I worked there. I have seen Telangana and Andhra. These development corridors that we say, they have huge stretches, vast stretches of land, which we can't even imagine. So the typical horizontal way of development, is it the right thing to do in Kerala? Can we think about vertical types of development projects? Something that may not need land. Certain things we will need, but as a land constrained community, we have to think of the alternative. And last point is capital. Are we a capital restrained place? On one side, we are saying about the lack of investment in Kerala. On the other hand, we receive a huge amount in remittances. Where does this money go? What kind of investment, or what are the channels to which this money is pumped? So, end of the day, are we waiting for? I mean, we are waiting for some big billionaire NRI investor to come here, pump money, and build us up. What about building something from on our own? Say something like this local cooperative type venture capitalist, community owned projects, or such initiatives. And my last point is that not all sectors need all type of investment. Knowledge economy or IT or similar things, it does not require physical mobility. It will require bandwidths. Whereas on the other hand, we have projects like Vizhinjam, which needs mobility. Something like this project, KRIL, Vizhinjam Port, and certain tourism initiatives, and all these are mobility and labor intensive sectors. So end of the day, we cannot design policies in silos. We have to bring all these things together, and we should have a synergy. So that's my take from this entire session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anup. We may be able to take few questions from the floor, not many, because of want of time. So, yeah, Professor.
Professor Narayana's presentation, if there is an interesting journalist here, that will be a headline for tomorrow. Capital investment in Kerala nosedived last 5 years. But we as economists, we should be critical about how capital investment is defined conventionally in public finance. And you have not included capital investment by KIFBI, capital investment by local self-governments. If you put that, and if you put real capital, whether that will be the conclusion or not. Budget, indeed, yes. Budget numbers shows no increase. That is my point.
That point is clear, and Professor Narayana will respond. Other questions?
My question to Anup sir. So, when we're talking about entrepreneurship and startup, is it possible to start or establish an institution for in district wise to improve entrepreneurship and startups in Kerala? And another question is to Narayan sir. Sir, talk about problems of street dog management and waste management, local self-government. And my question is that is it need for an establishment of a monitoring authorities in district wise to analyzes the issues of LSGs? That's my question.
Hello. It will be like a quick response to Elias sir. മലയാളത്തിലാണ്. അപ്പോൾ സാറ് പറയുന്നുണ്ടായി മെത്തനോൾ പ്രൊഡക്ഷനെ കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്കറിയാം ഇപ്പൊ ഈ എത്തനോൾ ബ്ലെൻഡഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഫ്യൂവൽസ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യണം എന്നുള്ള ഒരു സാധനം വരികയും അതിന്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ട് ഒരുപാട് കാറ് അതിന്റെ നമുക്കത് യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാത്ത ഒരു സാഹചര്യത്തിലേക്ക് പോകുന്നു. കാറിന്റെ എന്തെന്ന് ലോങ്ജിറ്റിവിറ്റി കുറയുന്നു, അങ്ങനെയുള്ള പല പ്രശ്നങ്ങളും ഉണ്ടാകുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ഇത്തരത്തില് നമുക്ക് വളരെ ഫാൻസി ആയി തോന്നുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങള് പെട്ടെന്ന് ട്രഡീഷണൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഫ്യൂവൽസിന് എഗനസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് എത്രമാത്രം ഫീസിബിൾ ആണെന്നുള്ളതാണ്. സാറ് പറയുന്നത് 25 കോടി 2 ഏക്കർ ലാൻഡ് ആണ് വേണ്ടത് ഒരു പ്ലാന്റ് തുടങ്ങാൻ. നമുക്ക് എന്തുകൊണ്ട് അതിനൊരു പ്രോട്ടോടൈപ്പ് ഉണ്ടായിക്കൂടാ, അതർ ദാൻ ഹാവിങ് എ ബിഗ് അനൗൺസ്മെന്റ് ഫ്രം കാസർഗോഡ് ടു കേരള. സോ അതിനുള്ള ഒരു കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ബേസ്ഡ് കോർപ്പറേറ്റ് ബേസ്ഡ് ഇനീഷ്യേറ്റീവ് ഫസ്റ്റ് വരികയും അത് ഗവൺമെന്റ് അഡോപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നതായിരിക്കാം ഒരു സസ്റ്റൈനബിൾ ആയിട്ടുള്ള രീതി, അതർ ദാൻ മേക്കിംഗ് എ ബിഗ് അനൗൺസ്മെന്റ് ഫസ്റ്റ്. അതാണ് എനിക്ക് ഒരു കാര്യം പറയാനുള്ളത്. പിന്നെ ഒരു കാര്യം ഏലിയ സാറ് പറഞ്ഞതിനോട് ഞാൻ യോജിക്കുന്നു. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ലൈക്ക് ഇൻവെസ്റ്റ്മെന്റ്സ്, വി ആർ ഫണ്ടിങ് മോർ ഓൺ സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്സ് ആൻഡ് വി ആർ ഫണ്ടിങ് ഓൺ ഇൻവെസ്റ്റ്മെന്റ്സ്, ആൻഡ് these startups eventually will be acquired by some venture capitalist or a big capitalist. Government is investing on education, and most of the startup guys are from IIT, NIT, and even from CET and GEC, the government funded institutions. And it is being captured by the capitalists and they are making profit. Government is relaxing their tax on corporate tax and all. So we do need a strategic shift that we have to tax the capitalists who are acquiring and the investment which government makes. So that is my question. And one more thing, it's a quick question that K-Rail, that is an extension to Anup sir's question that K-Rail, the like Vizhinjam port, all are based on goods like K-Rail with a RoRo facility. So we have to concentrate more on good producing sectors. Did this knowledge economy and the investment which we make other than K-Phone go hand in hand? That's the question.
We will take maybe one more question.
So my question is to Sri Kumar sir. Sir, the total the cost of first phase of project, Vizhinjam project is 8,800 crore. And Kerala spent 5,400 crore for that. And Adani spending is only 2,500 crore. And for the 40 years, the 40 years, the contract is for Adani and can be extended to more 20 years. And it is said that Kerala can only take the profit after 50 years. So now the present, what is the benefit of Kerala government for the project for what is the benefit of Kerala government in spending that much money on Vizhinjam port?
Okay. Now we'll have quick responses from the presenters. I mean the panelists in the same order as they spoke. Okay, Dr. Anu, you want? Anu, you wanted to leave.
Hello. ഞാൻ രണ്ട് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ കേട്ടെ. സോ ഇഫ് ദർ ഇസ് എനിത്തിങ് എൽസ് ദാറ്റ് ഐ മിസ്ഡ് ഔട്ട് പ്ലീസ് ഫീൽ ഫ്രീ ടു പോയിന്റ് ഔട്ട്. ദ ഫസ്റ്റ് വൺ ഇസ് നമുക്ക് കേരളത്തിലുടനീളം ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പുകൾ തുടങ്ങാനുള്ള ഫെസിലിറ്റേഷൻ സെന്റേഴ്സ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും, അതല്ലേ ചോദിച്ചത് അല്ലേ? സോ വി ഹാവ് എ പ്രോഗ്രാം കോൾ ലീപ് സെന്റേഴ്സ്. ഇപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് തിരുവനന്തപുരം, കൊച്ചി, കോഴിക്കോട്, കണ്ണൂർ, കാസർഗോഡ്, കുളക്കട എന്നുള്ള സ്ഥലങ്ങളിൽ, അല്ല കൊട്ടാരക്കര, ഇവിടെ സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പ് മിഷൻ തന്നെ തുടങ്ങിയ സെന്റേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. ഇത് കൂടാതെ അക്കാഡമിക് ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷൻസുമായിട്ട് ചേർന്ന് നമ്മളൊരു 16ഓളം ലീപ് സെന്റേഴ്സ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ലീപ് സെന്റേഴ്സ് ഓരോന്നും is a co-working space where you could go and get help in getting your startup registered or learn about the funding schemes and all that stuff. So that project is already on. There is something like that available. Leap centers nu paranju chumma search cheyidu nokkiyal you will get the details of all the leap centers and then you can approach them. That is the first thing. The second question came from you, which is about nammal ee anavashyamaayittulla startupukkalku incentives ellam koduthu അത് വലിയ കുത്തക മുതലാളികൾ വന്ന് അക്വയർ ചെയ്യുന്നു, അവരതിന്റെ ലാഭം കൊയ്യുന്നു എന്നുള്ളൊരു പോയിന്റ്. ആൻഡ് ഇറ്റ് ഓൾ കംസ് ഫ്രം GC, NIT, CET. And that thesis I disagree. കാരണം NIT-യിലും CET-യിലും ഒക്കെ പഠിക്കുന്ന കുട്ടികൾക്കെല്ലാം നല്ല ജോലി കിട്ടി. അവരാരും സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പ് തുടങ്ങാറേയില്ല. I have not seen any great success story from any premier engineering institutions of Kerala, which is a very sad state of affair. IIT എന്നാ അങ്ങനെയല്ല. IITs used to have a different path. IITians, at least എൻ്റെയൊക്കെ കൂടെ പഠിച്ച IIT-യിൽ പഠിച്ച കുട്ടികളെല്ലാം, they all went for their MS in US. Some did PhD. And then they eventually joined the Intels and the large corporations of the world. IITs always was a resource drain for us. നമ്മൾ ഇവരെ പഠിപ്പിക്കുന്നു എന്നിട്ട് അവരെല്ലാം പുറത്തു പോകുന്നു. ഇതായിരുന്നു ഒരു സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് പ്രോട്ടോകോൾ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. പക്ഷേ ഇപ്പോൾ ആ പ്രോട്ടോകോൾ പതുക്കെ മാറി വരുന്നു. IITians are now starting to stay back in the country and startup has become a fashion. എത്രയും പെട്ടെന്ന് you start a company and make, I know that you disagree with the numbers that I talked about, but people want to make a lot of money in a very little time. I don't want to spend my entire life to have 10 crores in my bank, right? I want to make my million before my 30 എന്നാണ് ആൾക്കാർ ഇപ്പോൾ പറയുന്നത്. So many people start. പക്ഷെ കേരളത്തിലെ സ്ഥിതി അതല്ല. കേരളത്തിലെ പ്രീമിയർ ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷൻസ് അല്ല സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്സ് തുടങ്ങുന്നത്. If you look at some of the large startups that has come out of the campus, one is Gen Robotics, came from MES Kuttipuram, not from CET. അപ്പം and if you look at ISRO, ശശി തരൂർ പ്രസംഗിച്ചതുപോലെ IIT-കാരല്ല ഈ റോക്കറ്റ് ഒന്നും വിട്ടത്. ഇതെല്ലാം TKM-ലും CET-ലും ഒക്കെ പഠിച്ച കുട്ടികൾ തന്നെയായിരുന്നു. So it is. പക്ഷെ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു വരുന്നതെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ, why do government give grants for startups? And I'll explain that a little bit. നമുക്കൊരു ആശയം നമ്മുടെ മനസ്സിലുണ്ട്. There is an idea that comes to your mind and you want to start that. പണ്ടൊക്കെ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മൾ അച്ഛനോടും അമ്മയോടും പോയി പറയും, അച്ഛാ എനിക്ക് ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഐഡിയ ഉണ്ട്, ഇച്ചിരി പൈസ വേണം എന്ന് പറയാം. അച്ഛൻ പറയും വേണ്ട, ജോലിക്ക് പോയാൽ മതി, ഇയാൾ വലിയ ഐഡിയ ആയിട്ടൊന്നും ഇങ്ങോട്ട് വരണം, അവനവന്റെ കാശിൽ ഐഡിയ നടത്തിയാൽ മതി. I will. So in my times, I'm like that's ഒരു മിനിറ്റ് കൂടെ എടുത്തു. So I'm a 90s pass out, 95 pass out. So if I had an idea at that time, I would go to my father and say that I've got this brilliant idea. And my father would say that, do not toy around with your brilliant ideas. You go for a job and bring some income home. And but somebody need to fund that idea, right? Bank will not fund it. Venture capitalists will not fund it. So often, always across the world, it is either the defense organizations or the government at large are the ones who gives free money to toy with that idea and find out whether that idea can turn into a prototype or not. So that, I think we have to stick with that idea. Now, regarding the tax benefits, for a startup, the tax benefits is offered for 3 consecutive years. You get a tax exemption during the existence of the 10 years of the startup. But if a company comes and acquires that startup, they don't get that tax benefit, but they do become the beneficiary of the free money. But in that acquisition process, the original founder is now left with some wealth and he can start the next company, which will have a ripple effect on the economy. You will create more jobs, you will start new enterprises. So startups across the globe has created people who are ready to do their jobs or people who are ready to start their next enterprise. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ഒരു റിപ്പിൾ എഫക്റ്റ് കൂടെ മനസ്സിൽ കണ്ടിട്ടാണ് കാശ് എടുത്തത്. സോ I wouldn't consider it as waste of money. വേറെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ഇല്ലല്ലോ സാർ എനിക്ക്? Those were the only 2 questions. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Professor Narayana will.
My reason for presenting the total expenditure, revenue expenditure, and capital expenditure of the state is to provide a background for the discussion on the local governments. Now, I do not wish to get into a discussion of which, entity, investment by which entity is better, whether it's a state government or it should be local government or KIFBI. I don't wish to get into that debate. And if you look at the state expenditure, capital expenditure, I have just read out the numbers and you draw your inference. Of course, director of GIFT has some compulsions. I understand that, but I don't want to get into a debate on that. Thank you.
You are not responding to other.
I don't think I have to. I already said a lot of
Okay,
things.
okay.
So,
വളരെ ബ്രീഫായിട്ട് പറയാം. See, നമ്മൾ കേരള ഗവൺമെന്റ് കൂടുതൽ ചെലവഴിച്ചു. See, okay, so for yours, the question was, the government of Kerala has spent almost 60%, 65% of the total amount that is earmarked for the Vizhinjam port vis-a-vis the share of the private partner. So why should Kerala government make such a huge contribution on behalf of this project, and what benefit the state is going to get? Now, when we look at public infrastructure projects, my entire effort was not in terms of showcasing the project that is already commissioned by Adani. My entire effort was to showcase the opportunities that are emerging from this particular public infrastructure project, where I said, you're sitting in the next Singapore of the world. So it is an opportunity for each one of you, if you have an entrepreneurial streak and if you're interested in creating something, the whole world is your market. As somebody asked that question, or I think Elias John mentioned, see, it's a fact that today a vessel, if you are an exporter of processed fish, Kerala exports quite a lot of processed fish. If it is sailing from Vallarpadam to reach the east coast of the US, it takes about 66 days. The same processed fish today, if it is exported from Vizhinjam, it reaches the east coast of the US in 32 days. So in terms of the working capital requirements, in terms of the transportation time, it's a whole game changer. This particular public infrastructure that has come up in Vizhinjam is a game changer for the whole country. And it is up to us to capitalize to the extent possible so that it brings about a huge economic transformation for our state. So rather than looking at, and without Kerala government chipping in creating some of the basic infrastructure connected with the port, it was basically the Kerala government contribution is in terms of addressing the social issues of that region, because this port has come up in the most populated stretch of India's coastline. So there were a lot of social issues, there were a lot of livelihood issues. All those were addressed by the Kerala government. The last mile connectivity in terms of road and rail connectivity, that is the obligation of the Kerala government. So having created this facility, now it is up to us to tap that facility and become more competitive in the global market and create a lot of wealth for the state, create a lot of employment for the state, and also reduce the stress on the state exchequer. Thank you.
Sri Elias, are you there?
Yes, I am very much here.
Yeah. Please respond.
And our question an answer under. We have to begin somewhere, whether it is a small micro unit or a അദ്ദേഹം ചോദിച്ചതിനകത്ത് ഉത്തരവുണ്ട്. ഞാൻ പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് പറയേണ്ട കാര്യമൊന്നുമില്ല. എവിടെയെങ്കിലും ഒന്ന് തുടങ്ങണം നമ്മൾ.
Okay. So shall we now conclude? Yeah. Yeah, it was a very useful session. A lot of ideas came, and follow-up work will have to be done. That will have to be taken up not only by the government but also by research institutions like CDS, our universities, GIFT and all. Because as I was telling, these ideas come, but to translate those ideas into practical schemes, it takes extra effort. And that will have to come from academic institutions and other research places where you can develop details and workable programs and projects can be made, which can be taken into budgets, etc. So probably GIFT can take the lead, because in Vizhinjam and all, we see a lot of opportunities, and how to realize those opportunities by developing appropriate strategies, appropriate projects. That's a major challenge. Part of it can be probably taken over by Gujarati Institute faculty and students here. With that, let me say that this session is over. Done.
So the session has come to an end. Thank you so much, everyone. Now we have a 5-minute tea break. All of you have to reassemble back within 5 minutes. Tea is arranged outside. Also, for your additional information, the GIFT social media team is uploading the seminar pictures and videos in GIFT social media handles, especially LinkedIn and X. So I request everyone to go through the GIFT social